Hey everybody, welcome to the Slick Tree Podcast. I'm your host, Colby Langford. The point of this show is to help improve ourselves as dogmen and to raise the quality of the dogs on the end of our lead. So let's settle in, turn the volume up, and let's see if we can't learn a trick or two together from our guests. Tell me what happened with your Abby dog the other day.
Well, my Abby dog hadn't been out of the pen in a while, and I thought I'd let her out. She's 13 years old, pretty well decorated cur dog. And she got on a coon track right here behind the house and got out there about 850 yards and it run in a little underground stream system. I got to where she was at, and I could see where she went in the ground. And there's a tiny amount of water in there because it's pretty high up on the hill. So there ain't no water in that portion of it currently, but there's a little bit of water, and it was muddy on one side, and you could see where the fresh dirt fell down, and it didn't look like it was disturbed on the other side. So all that muddy water was on the upstream side, what little bit that there was. So I thought she went upstream. I could not hear her at all, and I've had dogs going around many times, and usually you could hear some faint barking somewhere, but I couldn't hear anything. So I just started digging. I went home, got something, and dug, and I dug probably about 30 feet, just hoping I'd get to a place where I could hear her. And I went up and downstream from there looking for other, cave-ins to the little underground stream system and couldn't find much of anything to listen into. So I dug about 30 feet and I gave up because that was a lot going and all them roots and stuff, So that was early Friday morning. So I'd checked off and on all day Friday and all day Saturday, and I never heard anything. I said a few prayers for my dog. My preacher at church said a prayer for my dog after I told him the story when I got there Sunday. I didn't go check on her Sunday morning. I was going to just get up and go on to church, which I did. So I got out of church and I went back up there. A friend of mine, Jeffrey Vinings, went with me. And I studied where I'd been digging and all that stuff. And I studied the depths of the dirt to where the cavern went. And I realized I had dug enough up through there. I was like, wait a minute, this is too narrow for her to have gone this way. I've been digging in the wrong direction. Because I've already dug to the point that I'm at the place now that even though it's open in there, it's not enough for her. So I knew I'd gone the wrong way. And so we started walking down, stopping and listening, going really slow and methodical. And finally I heard something. And I asked Jeffrey, I said, you can't hear the dogs at the house, can you? He said, no. I said, well, then I hear Abby. I said, Abby's right in here somewhere. We'll just barely move and listen. And I could hear her. And finally, I found a little hole. And I was like, yep, she's right in here somewhere. I don't know which way from this hole, but we can hear her right here. So we had a shovel, and we started digging and opened it up. Sure enough, we could hear her. Now, I had somebody else coming with a metal detector, see if we could pick up her collar or whatever. But we just started digging, and then people started showing up to help. And long story short, we got her out of there. 63 hours is how long she was underground. So, and she's 13 years old. And you couldn't tell a thing was wrong with her other than she was thirsty because there was no water in there like, there would have been if it was lower down, lower country. She was real thirsty. And other than that, she was fine. Matter of fact, when she come out of the hole, it looked like she wanted to get back in it, like the coon might have still been there.
Yeah.
But 13 years old, 63 hours, I was just about to give up on her. I'd already been thinking about Hall of Fame nominations for her for OMCBA and UMCA. I had all but given up, and a prayer was truly answered.
Sounds like it.
Yep. And ain't no doubt in my mind. Because I'd listen for her Friday and Saturday several times off and on. I'd go out there and just sit and just see if I could hear anything. And I just never did.
Did it look like she was just got in there and couldn't get turned around, or was she just? You think she's just still in there looking at a coon?
She might have still been in there looking at a coon, but she was probably 100 feet from where she went in. I never really measured it, but it was probably 100 feet. That's pretty good ways, 30, 40 yards. And I think the coon may have still been there in there, or maybe she couldn't back out, because the reason I think the coon may have still been in there is because, number one, she acted like she wanted to go back in there as soon as she got rescued. And number two, I took Newt out there in case coon come out, we'd let him have it. Remove that guy that likes to go underground instead of up a tree. Because Friday I took him up there to see if he'd help me dig, because maybe she ain't far, maybe whatever. Well, Friday I couldn't get him to be interested in the hole where she went in at all. But Sunday, when I had him with me, and I got him to put his nose in that hole where you could hear her from, he went ballistic. So it made me wonder, is the coon in there or not? But we were so relieved to get Abby out that I didn't dare let him loose to go see if I was going to have to rescue him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
But
don't blame you.
his attitude and the way she acted about wanting to get back in there, I'm wondering, was the coon still there? Which would still be kind of odd to me, because you know how it is when you got a place where water's running underground or runs underground when there's water. That stuff goes on forever. But he may have taken a little turn off to the side or something, and she was blocking his escape or something. But they kind of acted like he might have still been there. I really don't know. But I was just glad to get that dog back. She's done a lot of stuff for me.
I'm glad it worked out the way it did for you.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Yeah, she's a special dog. I mean, there's just not many dogs that live that long, much less still hunt like that. And I've cut her loose once since then. And the other night, she started taking that same path that she took. And I was like, my goodness. And she got treed, but it was a tree, thank goodness. And she was probably about maybe 100 yards from that spot. So I started thinking, oh, no. But, everybody's like, you ain't going to let her loose and hunt her again anymore. Well, yeah, I am. That's what she was born to do. That's what she wants to do. If I let her out of the pen right now, she would go hunting. So why would I deny her that?
Makes the guy wonder if it wasn't the same coon. It just decided it didn't want to get trapped underground for 3 days. Figured it should have climbed a tree.
Yes, it does make me wonder, is it the same coon? Because I was watching on the Garmin, and it went almost the exact identical route that one went that went underground that night. I was absolutely thinking, oh, no, if that's the same coon, we may have the same ordeal. But she treated him about 100 yards from those holes that we dug. It was so funny. I had a few people say, you need to fill all them holes in, like I can fill in the underground stream system in the woods. That's like y'all don't understand. You don't fill this stuff in. This is nature. This is what it is. You need to get some concrete and fill them holes in. It ain't like she went in a hole and I can fill up a hole. It's a freaking underground stream system.
Yeah.
I got kind of tickled over that. Like that ain't really the way it works.
Well, everybody, you are listening to the Slick Tree Podcast. Today I've got Clifton Robinson on the phone, and that's a pretty good story you just told, buddy.
I appreciate it. Dogs do give us some good stories. I'm glad God gave us dogs to hang out with.
Excuse me, I had you on there for a second. I had a little bit of a rough day. I spent most of my day picking up picking up rocks, working on building the cabin, and it was kind of time to do landscaping on it around today, and filled up a had a little bit of help, but filled up a 14-foot dump trailer with about softball and bigger size rocks. So that was
Oh
pretty
my
fun,
goodness! I'm glad I wasn't not your buddy that lives close by and expected to help.
right?
Uh, yeah, that's real work right there.
Yeah. Well, Cliff, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story with dogs and how you got started with them?
Well, I just kind of grew up poor, and I just had a ragtag yard full of misfit dogs for the most part in my youth. And I'm talking about young, 10, 14 years old. And this may sound cliche or whatever, but we were poor. And so the way meat got put on our table mostly was me going hunting. That's why at Christmas, anybody said, "What do you want for Christmas?" If anybody asked me that, my answer was the same for everybody: box shotgun shells. Well, those dogs and I would leave out and we would go hunting. And when I'm talking about hunting, it was hunting. It was if doves flew up off the railroad track, I shot at them. If the dogs treated a squirrel, I shot it. Dogs run a rabbit across the trail, I shot it. So that's what I did, And so I grew up that way. And then after I had the misfit dogs, and one of them, which happened to be a really, really good squirrel dog, I did transition on into rabbit hunting with beagles because that's what my grandpa did. And there's nothing I like better than listening to beagles. As good as a good tree dog is, a pack of beagles just warms the soul. So I had beagles for several years, and then I got out of them. And then a guy called me. I was a game warden by trade. A guy called me from a radio station, wanted to interview me for a outdoor radio program that they did every Saturday morning or Sunday morning, whatever it was. Anyway, he called me, and I did a couple of interviews for that radio station, radio show or whatever. And then he called me and said, "Hey, a buddy of mine's got a real good squirrel dog, and we bred it to my little old squirrel dog, and if you'd be interested in a pup, we'll hook you up." And I thought, you know what? It's been a long time since I've had a squirrel dog. Like since I was 14 or 15 years old. I not only did I have beagles, I also had a little stint with some blue ticks. But anyway, out of all that, what I remember was that little old yard dog, squirrel dog I had. So when he made that offer, I was like, you know what? It'd be nice to have another squirrel dog again, because down here where I live, not a whole lot of rabbit hunting country, not, very good rabbit hunting at all, but I got all this national forest that I live around, 144,000 acres national forest right here where I'm at. So I took him up on that offer, and I got a puppy. And then I got another dog or two. And anyway, I got all them started and treeing and whatever. And actually the dog I got from him is Greg Selman and Todd McCarver. Todd McCarver owned the mama dog. My son ultimately or eventually won a world championship NKC Cur coon hunt with him. So that dog, we named him Pontiac. My youngest son liked the Pontiac-shaped white symbol on his head, so we named him Pontiac. And that just got me back into the squirrel dog world, and I took him to a hunt or two and squirrel hunting, and then my son won that coon hunting championship, world championship with him, and I've been in coon dogs pretty much ever since. And I've had several. I do a lot of competition hunting, a lot of pleasure hunting, especially the last 4 years since I've retired. Had somebody ask me at one of the hunts one time, he said, "My goodness, just how many hunts do you go to in a year?" And I said, "Well, 52. And everybody laughed and giggled. Then somebody said, well, that doesn't count the weeknight PKC coon hunt you go to, does it? And I said, well, you know what? Sure doesn't. Yeah. And speaking of PKC coon hunts, there ain't but 10 cur dogs ever made PKC champion. And I happen to have 2 of them in my kennel right now. Abby, and Newt. They're old and retired for the most part, and but still, they're only 2 of 10 that have ever made it. So when somebody says they got a cur coon dog, and they like to say that sometimes, oh, I got this cur coon dog, the best cur coon dog ever. Well, if you want to prove you got a cur coon dog, hunt him in PKC against the coon hounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's now once you've done that, I'll agree you've got a cur coon dog, which I agree. Several people do have some really good ones, and they are coon dogs. I'm just kind of, going on a little bit, but it ain't really proven until you do it against the hounds. Like Abby and Newt, PKC champions, dominated by the hound dogs, right? Only 10 cur dogs ever made it. They're also NSD Grand Night champions, and it was dominated by hounds. So when you really want to prove it, hunt against the hounds. That's all I'm saying. And also, if your cur coon dog trees on an empty tree, I'm all for minusing those slick trees.
Just want to go on record saying that, huh?
Yes. I mean, this is the Slick Tree podcast, right?
It is. Let me back you up just a second there, Cliff.
Okay.
You got my interest on your yard dog you had as a kid. Just tell me about him. What was his name? What did he look like? And how did he hunt?
He was a little dog. He'd be 5 size. He was just a little black dog like you'd see in most every little old yard. And he probably had the coolest name of all dogs you've ever heard. His name was Tiger. I bet you ain't ever heard of a dog named Tiger, have you?
Nope.
Yeah, he wasn't. I can't really remember. And it was a long time ago. He don't seem like he run out there all that far. It seemed like he stayed out ahead of you, 100, 150 yards. But man, we killed a pile of squirrels to him. And he just went and vanished one day. And I absolutely think one of my neighbors stole him from me. I don't know it for sure, but that was a speculation in the family. Because one day that guy had hound dogs. And one day they had a coon out there fooling with a young hound, and it was scared to death of that coon. And I said, I bet Tiger would get him. And Tiger wasn't very big at all. I'm talking about, 10 pounds maybe, 15. And he laughed, and he said, that thing will eat Tiger up. And I said, well, let's see. And I went and got Tiger, or called Tiger, and got him there, and he got all over that coon. And that man was like, oh, my God. And it wasn't long after that Tiger went missing. So I don't know what happened for real, but that's my speculation anyway.
Yeah.
I just remember he treated a lot of squirrels. And my ragtag misfit group, he was the one that usually got some game on me, because he was treating squirrels. I mean, he'd run rabbits with the pack or something too, but he was mostly a squirrel dog.
You want to talk about how you kind of transitioned into the comp hunting and kind of how that got started?
Well, like I said, I got that Pontiac dog, and Todd McCarter was going to some hunts here in Alabama. I think they were NKC hunts. No, I think they were UKC hunts. They were UKC hunts. That was the only thing going in Alabama at the time. And I went over to the hunt with him, and man, there's a lot of dogs there. That's probably 15, 20 dogs or more. Seemed like a lot to me anyway. It's my first hunt. Well, he finished 5th. And so that kind of got us fired up, and we started going and ended up getting some UKC squirrel titles on him and NKC squirrel titles on him later. And then my son won the NKC World Coon Hunt with him. And then when I got other dogs, I got another dog from Todd McCarver. It was a mama was Kimmer and daddy was OMCBA, and so I couldn't hunt Kimmer hunts, couldn't hunt OMCBA hunts, but I hunted NKC and UMCA. I think I ended up getting 17 titles with him in various things in those organizations. And then I thought, well, maybe I need an OMCBA dog. Then that way I can hunt everything that I've been hunting and OMCBA. So then I got Abby. And and then just ever since then, I've just been hunting every registry, everything I could possibly hunt with. Been, like I said, doing a hunt almost every weekend. If there was a hunt this weekend, I'd go to it.
Well, it sounds like you have pretty good success rate on starting one. Why don't you tell us about how you like doing that?
I'll do that. I'll start dogs for people. I'll take a couple every month, sometimes 3. And, man, if they don't start here, they probably just need shooting because I'm covered up in squirrels. I feed a little over 100 pounds of seed a month. And it's not really about training these dogs. It's about giving them opportunity. So these squirrels come in the yard and the surrounding woods around through here where I'm feeding them at. So they get plenty of opportunity to get on plenty of squirrels. If they'll get treat or whatever, I encourage them, pet them up, get excited with them, act silly with them, whatever I got to do to get them started barking. And I have pretty good success rate on that. A lot of dogs have left here that ended up beating me later on. That's kind of bittersweet, I guess. But some of them go to winning. I like to say, hey, I started that dog.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of fun. I do that. It gives me something to do now that I'm retired, and gives me a little bit of money to, buy dog food with or pay my entry fees going to a hunt,
Yeah.
So, and I stay pretty booked up. At first, I thought, man, there probably can't be much of a clientele for that, much of a need for it. But, man, there is. I stay booked up. And then I got to thinking, I was like, well, wait a minute. Yeah, I guess I do understand why there's so many people willing to pay to do that, because I can do in a month what a working man would take a year to do.
Mm-hmm.
Working man's, just got Saturday and Sunday or whatever. So, that's 8 days a month if he did it every time. Well, I can give him 30 days in a month,
Mm-hmm.
So, and I do a lot of different things based on what the dog would do. If it's a dog, if it'll bark on a hang up, I do hang ups and drags. I'll catch squirrels and let them see them. I'll catch coons and let them see them, or just whatever I need to do. The main thing is people would fool with them dogs before they send them here. If it's only been on a chain or in a kennel and it's now 10 months old, that's a little harder for me to start versus one that's been allowed to run loose or tag along while they're working another dog, or one that's been worked on drags and spent some wood time with. Because sometimes I'll get one and it needs leashed at the tree to tighten it up, but the minute you leash it up, it stops. It won't do anything, or it'll fight the leash, one or the other. So dogs that have been on the leash are tied out, food with hides, and maybe let chase the house cats or whatever. Those dogs are easier to start than dogs that are only fed and watered.
Mm-hmm.
You got to give the dog opportunity for its primal instincts to be peaked a little bit. So if you got a 6, 8, 10-week-old puppy and you make it hunt little pieces of hot dog or whatever out in the grass, it starts learning to use its nose, or you let it play tug of war with a hide and hang it up and encourage him to bark at it. All of those things pique its primal instincts to to hunt and find food, right? So a dog that wants to eat a squirrel will hunt a squirrel. A dog that don't might not.
Mm-hmm.
So you just gotta play with them and do certain things with them. Put a little squirrel scent on a tennis ball or something. Just anything that'll imprint on his mind. Hey, when I chase this scent, I get to play with this ball. When I find this scent, I get to play tug of war with this squirrel hide or whatever. Or when I see this ball move, I want to chase it. Well, then if he sees one of my yard squirrels, he wants to chase it. So it's just important to do stuff with your dog as much as you possibly can. And if you don't have the time to do that with a young dog, I say just pay the money, get a finished dog, or buy a puppy and send it to me.
Yeah. So the last time we talked, I believe I remember you referring to your yard squirrels as your employees.
Absolutely. They are my employees. The dogs have to work for a living, to get fed here. They've got to hunt. The same thing for the squirrels. They get fed here. They better go up these trees for my dogs. and talking about, sometimes they bug out just like any other squirrel, but some of them been treated enough. They're just like, okay, this dog's barking at me. I have actually, on about 3 different occasions, actually videoed squirrels getting married while a dog was underneath them treeing.
Really?
3 different times. I don't know why I didn't save those videos, but I've made them and put them. They were on Facebook at one point in time, but I'd be like, check this out. And I show the dog treat and I'll pan up the tree and there they are getting married, for goodness sakes. 3 times at least.
Oh, I'm telling you, I think you might have missed your calling a little bit. I think you probably should have been a cameraman for Nat Geo or something.
I might should have, because I get some really cool videos. I mean, just the other day, I videoed a box turtle laying eggs. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I videoed many snakes. So I thought about starting a YouTube channel, just call it Cliff's Nature Notes or something.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do all that technical stuff. I had to get one of you guys to show me how to do that.
Yeah.
Then I can just put every time my dog's tree or fight a coon or a squirrel or there's a snake on the ground or a spider eating something in the web, I could just video that and put it on my YouTube thing.
Well, I saw you was eating a rattlesnake a day or 2 ago.
Man, that was so good. That's some good stuff. Have you ever had it?
I never have had it. I've only seen I believe I've only seen one rattlesnake in the wild, and it was, believe it or not, it was late November. It was Oklahoma rifle season, but I was out in the Panhandle.
Wow.
And it was just kind of an unseasonably warm day, and we'd been shooting prairie dogs, and we were walking around them little prairie dog town.
Yeah.
And kind of looking at the remains of some of our handiwork, and there was about a 18-inch prairie rattler.
Wow.
Just barely even moving. It was cold enough that he didn't have much go, but it was warm enough. I guess he thought he'd get out.
Yeah, he got out to warm up a little bit. Yeah, I've seen a few snakes from time to time. Matter of fact, I'm hosting a hunt at the end of the month. And it's OMCBA, and a guy called me. He said, he's talking about coming down. He said, are the snakes bad down there? And I said, only if you step on them.
Yep.
I mean, only if you step on them. And that's the truth. Now, I do have a little reputation for finding and seeing a lot of snakes, but, that's like somebody when I had that one the other day. I didn't kill that one. Somebody called me and asked me if I want it, and I said, yeah, I ain't had one in a while. And so he commented on my thing there. That's not really a good way to get people to come to your Alabama heat stroke hunt.
Yeah.
What was funny, though, is I've cleaned many snakes, and let me say, that is some of the prettiest white meat ever. But when I first start cleaning a rattlesnake and that thing's wiggling and squirming, I just absolutely can't help but just be a little bit jittery about it. And I mean, the head was completely gone on that thing, and it took me a little while to talk myself into skinning him out. Absolutely no danger to it whatsoever. Just the natural instincts. And it is funny, but man, it was good. That's some good eating. If you've never had it, you need to try it.
I'd like to. I'm a pretty adventurous eater. I'll eat about anything that'll hold still long enough.
I think it's right up there with frog legs, man.
Ooh, it's a pretty high compliment.
Yeah. Yes, it is. The only thing wrong with it is there just ain't enough of it. It's like, eating the part of the meat around the ribs. You got to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're eating ribs, you know what I'm saying? You got to get your teeth and just be willing to dig in there and not worry about how it looks. You got to get it.
Yeah. Is it real bony, or is it just like a set of rib bones?
It's kind of like gnawing on a rib bone or something. The meat's just down in there, and you just got to get it with your teeth and shred it out of there. And like I said, the texture's kind of like frog legs a little bit. But I fried that the other night, and man, was it good. And it's also good on the grill.
Huh. Well, back to your squirrel employees. I've talked with you about this before, but why don't you tell us about how you feed them, like feeders, or what do you do?
Depends on the dog. If I got a dog that's not paying a whole lot of attention to his nose, I'll feed him at the base of a tree a lot, where that squirrel sits there and he feeds there and he feeds there and he feeds there. So there's a lot of scent there. Then that dog gets to paying attention to that scent, and he starts treeing on the tree, hopefully, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, if I got a dog that's not paying attention to anything whatsoever, sometimes I'll let him run loose and I'll just broadcast seeds all over the yard. So then the squirrels are real active and they have to hop around a lot looking for the food. And so hopefully, in theory, I find out where the dog likes to sleep when he's running loose, and that's where I feed the squirrels, close to him as I possibly can. So in theory, the dog looks up, there's a squirrel. I think I'll chase that thing. So I do it a lot of different ways. Sometimes I just pile it up at the base of a tree, but if it appears to me that maybe the dog's just keying on that one and only tree, I move it. I'll feed on different trees every day. I mean, because there's so many squirrels, they find it right away. I don't know if they key in on birds finding it or what the deal is, but they find it. There's a lot of squirrels and they find it quick. So, sometimes I'll use the same tree until that dog gets a little confidence tree in there. And then I'll start putting it at different trees, or I'll broadcast it out in the yard, or I'll even broadcast it in the woods. So the dog, walking down the trail sees or hears or smells a squirrel, jumps in there and gets it. But, and sometimes I might put it in feeders, but usually it's just broadcast or piled on the ground.
Gotcha.
Black oil sunflower seeds. That's the ticket. They will eat that 100 times over corn. Of course, it's more pricey than corn, but that's what I feed them. I feed them corn too, but black oil sunflower seeds is the ticket. It's like a drug to them.
So how do you handle it when you get one to start treeing? I'm guessing you're just kind of around the house when they're running loose, and
yeah.
Are you running out tree tying them immediately, or what? What are your goals of trying to get done while the dog's treeing? Maybe the first time you get to hear it.
Yeah, I'm where I can get to the dog, pet him up, handle him. If he'll stay there on voice commands, if I can keep his mind on the tree, I don't worry about leashing him up, because he's going to have to be unleashed till you get to him anyway, right? When you're in the hunt, when you're gun hunting or whatever. Now, if he tries to leave on me a lot, I'll try to leash him up if there's something to leash him to. Sometimes there ain't. Depends on which tree he's on. But if I can leash him up, I do, unless leashing him up shuts him down. Now, it shuts some dogs down. If they ain't never been on a leash or whatever, then I don't worry about it. My goal in that 1 month, usually that I have, sometimes people book 2 months, is just to get him under a tree, looking up, barking, that has a squirrel in it. And once they start treeing in the yard proper, we progress on out after that to the, edge, 100 yards from the house or whatever. And if that works good, then we go on into the big woods. Now that's success right there. Once we're treeing in the big woods, we call that success.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them don't progress that far in a month. So, as long as they're treed in the yard, at least I know they've got it in between their two ears to make it if that person continue to hunt them and put them in the woods. So that's my thing. They get consistent in the yard, we hit the big woods. Because then I can quit feeding so much in the yard.
Yeah, cut down the employee's feed bill.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you're starting one for yourself and you get them to the big woods, how are you if it's a dog you're going to keep and you're going to try to push in the hunts if it's capable? What's that look like in the early stages of hunting? I'm going to guess hunting it solo. Are you cast hunting it exclusively,
Oh, yeah.
or how's it look?
It's mostly, yeah, it'll be solo. Absolutely, because, if you got two dogs getting treed, I ain't figured out how to get to both of them at the same time. And I don't want to cause one to have issue with, going to the other one because that's where I'm going or whatever. So, yeah, if they're treeing, I'm walking in the woods. I usually have some trails I walk, make a loop this way or make a loop that way or whatever. Once they're treeing consistent, we're in the big woods. It's just simply a matter of, you'll hear the old timers say it, boot work, footwork, wear out the boots. Well, that's what we do. We wear out the boots. Matter of fact, I wish I could find a boot that lasts more than 6 months. I would promote it, but I don't think anybody makes one.
You're probably wearing snake boots too down there.
Yep. I wear Irish setters, and they're supposed to be waterproof, but they're not. But if Irish setter could make them waterproof, I would tell everybody they're waterproof. I believe we would sell a lot of Irish setter boots. So if Irish setter happens to see this podcast, make a better boot, I'll promote it in the squirrel dog and coon dog hunting world, and we'll sell a lot of boots. And I won't even charge much. Maybe some new boots every once in a while. Because it is the most comfortable boot I found for what I do. But, it is not waterproof. I ain't found one yet that was waterproof other than a rubber boot.
Yeah. What kind of squirrels you hunting down there?
It's mostly gray squirrels, but I do get into fox squirrels from time to time, but it is predominantly gray squirrels.
They pretty flighty down there?
Man, they're like little jet airplanes through them woods. And they can skin it back. They can get with it.
I like taking people with me that haven't done it much before, but duck hunters are the funnest just because you can take them out and they think they're a really good shotgun shot.
Right.
And,
yeah.
They're like, all right, hit this. And Grace go timbering out, and they're like, how do you hit that?
I had a friend contact me from high school one time, and I was like, "Yeah, man, come on down. We'll go squirrel hunting." He said, "All right." I said, "Bring a lot of shells." He said, "All right, I'll do it." Well, he ain't never been squirrel hunting with a dog, and we got where we was going, and I said, "You bring a lot of shells?" "Yeah, I brought a whole full box." And I kind of giggled. A box? I told you to bring a lot of shells. He said, "Ain't the limit 8?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You don't think I can get 8 squirrels with 25 shots?" And I said, "We'll see." And by the end of the hunt, he was getting ammo from me.
Yeah.
And I think we either got 2 limits or maybe we were 1 away from the limit. But still, he shot over a box of shell for his 7 or 8. He said, "Man, them things are a lot harder to hit than I thought." I said, "Yeah, once they start moving, it's a challenge. No doubt."
About like hitting a pinball.
It is, absolutely. It was one of the funnest days I ever had. And whenever I talked to him or see him, I saw him not long ago at one of our classmates' funeral, and we just laughed about that hunt that day. I said, "Yeah, I told him bring a lot of shells." He brought a box. I told him, I said a lot. I meant like 3 boxes.
Well, how was your career as a game warden? How would you rate that?
That had to be the best career ever. I mean, you know how you get your fix, going hunting, right? I got my fix going to work.
Yeah.
You know, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun catching violators. It was a lot of fun helping people understand conservation and the laws, and teaching hunter ed and doing outreach programs, all that stuff. Every bit of it is fun. I got to set my own hours most of the time, and as your own boss, you had to be self motivated, and it's just a really really good career for anybody that likes the nature. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better. I did 34 years of that. Is what I did. I kept telling people I was going to stay till I got good at it.
Well, we haven't talked about your Newt dog much. You wanna tell us a little bit about him?
Uh, yeah. I mean, he's been a fine dog. Right now, he's been having trouble. He got a tumor on his prostate, so he can't breed anymore. And some days he'll hunt okay, and some days he won't. But I think the last count I had, he had earned 23, 24, something like that, titles. That's pretty good. Squirrel titles, squirrel champions, grand squirrel champion, night champions, grand night champions, all that stuff. Water racing, NKC. He got three dog of the years. He's UKC Cur Coon Dog, Cur Night Dog of the Year. He was OMCBA Dog of the Year, UMCA Dog of the Year. He was runner up for those UMCA and OMCBA also another year. He was a real deal. Real deal. He got in 4 world championship finals, 3 of them coon, 1 of them squirrel, I think is what it was. Yeah. So pretty proud of him. He's been a really good dog, and I bred him to one of my other good dogs off Abby, and so that dog's name is Layla. She's off a Newt, and the dog I called Beagle because she looked like a beagle when she was born because she was tricolored. And I got Layla given to me last year. Boy wasn't hunting her anymore and wanted me to have her because I hunted all the time. I tried her out a little bit. When I got her, discovered she had heartworms. So despite having to treat her for heartworms between June of last year and June of this year, she's won 6 squirrel hunts and 2 coon hunts for me. I think that's pretty good. And she's off a Newt. And I got another one out of that same cross, but a different litter. I ain't got any titles on him. I got him the same time I got Layla. And I ain't got any titles on him because I've been focusing on Layla. But I did put him in the LMC World Hunt. And in the first round, I drew 2 world champion dogs. And he matched them tree for tree. I was just a squirrel short. And he's out of Newt and Beagle. So I think it's safe to say Newt produced.
What old dogs you got at the house right now?
Well, I got Abby, and I got Newt, I got Layla, and I got Gage, and then I got a dog off of John Elkins from North Carolina. His penny dog, he bred her to Ducey Ducote's razor dog. I got a puppy off of them. She's about 5 months old now, I think, and she's treeing. So that's the dogs I got. So I'm probably going to breed her to Gage one of these days off a Newt if I don't sell her or something. But she's 5 months old. She's treeing squirrels on occasion. So I got high hopes for her too.
Well, you got any hunting stories from over the years that just really stand out as good ones that you'd like to tell?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to do just on the spot. I did get asked one time, one of my officers that worked for me, he said, "Man, Lieutenant, how can you stand to hunt as much as you do? How can you stand to hunt them dogs basically every day?" And I said, "Well, because every tree is different. Like it is the way the dog acts, the way the tree looks, the location, the whether the squirrel runs or not. I mean, it's a different thing, even though it's the same thing, right? It's a different thing every time, and that's why going to these hunts is so much fun to me, because every time the dogs perform different. Sometimes they're a huge letdown, and then sometimes they're like a huge yay. Look what my dog done. You win a hunt you weren't supposed to win in the eyes of everybody else, or whatever. And it's kind of a little adrenaline rush. It's going to these competition hunts is almost as exciting to me as a good gun hunt. So that's why we do it. We love the dogs. We love to watch the work, and we like the excitement of the hunt or the competition.
Yeah, how long you been hosting hunts?
Several years. I don't know, probably 12 or so, because when I first started in this, the closest hunt was a UKC hunt. It was about an hour and a half away, which is great. But that only lasted a very short period of time, and the guy that's hosting there quit doing it. And so then the closest hunt was like 6 hours away. And then there weren't that many of them really. And I was, driving to the other states, and I was like, my goodness, I think we can cut down on some of this driving just by doing these things ourselves. so I started hosting hunts, and it, it's a little aggravating, but I mean, it's a lot better just to show up and go hunting. You're not responsible for anything versus being responsible for everything. But there's something to be said about driving 5 minutes to the clubhouse versus 6 or 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So I host OMCBA, UMCA, and NSD mostly. But I may do a few NKCs or UKCs later on, like I used to. That's how Abby and Newt got their titles, is doing UKCs and NKCs right here, where we wouldn't have to travel all over the country. Now, what gets me is this competition world. There's various competitions and thoughts about who's the toughest registry, what titles mean what. Well, it's all about supporting the sport of dog hunting. And I don't think we really need to run down any registry or anybody's competition. If you don't respect one or the other, don't go. Because I hear NKC and UKC get put down all the time, but yet they do require plus points. So if they're done legitimately, why on earth would we put those down just because we might do OMCBA or NSD or USDC or something, for instance? I don't think we should put down anybody, and let's just be happy they're doing it. And if you don't want to respect what they do or their titles, don't participate with them. Go hunt, promote the sport, because let's say a guy don't like NKC or UKC or whatever, but those guys hunting UKC and NKC do, and they introduce other people to them. Maybe they introduce young hunters that later on are hosting big dollar USDC hunts or whatever. Let's don't put anybody down for what their competition is or what they enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's my outlook on it. If you tell me your dog's got an NKC Squirrel Champion title, yay for you. You tell me it's got OMCBA, yay for you. Do whatever's available to you, because some of the other ones might not be available to those people.
Yep, I've got a hunt scheduled that'll be the first hunt that I've hosted in about a month. It's an NSD hunt. Hopefully, not too many people show up because it's September and it's going to be hot.
Well, let me tell you, I had a September NSD hunt one time. Somebody called me. They said, "How many dogs do you expect?" And I said, "Well, probably about 8, because that's what I had the previous year that early, because it was so freaking hot."
Mm-hmm.
I had 21 dogs show up. So don't be surprised if you have a lot of dogs.
Well, maybe I'll tell everybody I expect a bunch of dogs, so it won't sound
Yeah,
like an easy hunt to win. So maybe we'll stay home.
yeah.
But no, you got any advice for me other than just keep dogs and people hydrated?
That's pretty much it. Make sure everybody follows the law and everybody acts like a good sportsman. Just give them a good speech on being good sportsmen before they go out there. Let your dog do the talking.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you'll enjoy hosting, I hope, and hopefully some people around you there be sure and help you good and volunteer to be guides and stuff. That's the really hard thing. You never know how many guides you're going to have, and you don't know if people are going to show up at no places that they can go from that location. So if you have your guides in hand, it'll go just fine.
Yeah, I think I've got quite a few guides lined up. We've got a pretty strong local coon hunter club, and
Yeah.
I'm going to be leaning on them quite a bit on it. So
Oh yeah.
we don't have a ton of public around my parts, so we're not as fortunate as you down there.
Yeah. If you don't have a lot of public, just be sure you have some guides that you can call. Uh, where you at?
I'm in northeast Oklahoma,
Oklahoma.
very
Yeah.
northeast corner.
You'll probably 3 or 4 guides probably be enough, and if it ain't enough, man, that is really good. You're in a really good location with a lot of squirrel hunters. You just have to get them to the ones that show up. Hopefully, they're showing up from close enough that they got places they can take people to.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we've got a few guys that are local that should be showing up, but
Yeah. Well, I wish you a lot of luck. It's a lot of fun, and NSD is definitely one of my favorite organizations, no doubt about it.
I'm a really big fan of their rule set.
Yes, yes. And then once you get established, man, you won't have to drive all over the country. Maybe champion out your dog.
Yeah. With 2 kids at home, and my youngest is she's 5 and she has autism and is mostly nonverbal, so it makes it a little bit hard to travel at times.
Absolutely.
So this will just be handy to have that going on.
Yeah, yeah. Close to home, you can host the hunt and do the hunt, and then get back home to the family.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, Cliff, I sure appreciate you taking the time to have a phone call. This was actually the second time we did this a couple weeks ago, and I had every technical difficulty there could possibly be. My SD card filled up and didn't realize it, and then I was tired. I think I'd had a long day that day too, and ended up I got done, cleared my SD card and figured out where we're at, and went to record the last 30 minutes pretty much over again. We got done with that, and I without thinking, I just powered off my recorder without hitting the stop record button, and it deleted the whole second half of the recording that we redid, and so I wasn't able to use any of it when it was all said and done. So I appreciate your patience with me, and forgiving my technical difficulties and errors, and for coming back on and doing this with me again.
Man, I enjoyed it. I appreciate the invite. I was flattered by it. Thank you.
Yep. All right.
Well, you have a good one, man. I enjoyed it, and then I'll be curious to see if everybody else did.
No, I'm sure they will. I've enjoyed the conversation. Thank you, buddy. Everybody else, take care and keep wearing out that boot leather. I just want to give everyone that's listening a sincere thank you. Getting this podcast going has been a project. I really hope you're enjoying it, and if you don't mind, give the show a good rating and review wherever you're listening to it at, or share it on your social media to help get some traction. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to your feedback.